Good morning and thanks for joining us on Afrique Media. This morning we are live from Eswatini as we talk on the agricultural sector of this kingdom. Joining us live on set is Mr. Samson Sithole, the Chief Executive Officer at Eswatini Water and Agricultural Development Enterprise. Good morning and welcome.
Morning.
Thank you very much for accepting to grant us audience as we discuss the agricultural sector, which we believe you are very much aware of, and you'll give us an expansive development about what's happening in the kingdom.
Yes.
So I'd like to shoot with this first question give us an explanation of the Water and Agricultural Development Enterprise, which you are the CEO so far.
Yeah, the Eswatini Water and Agricultural Development Enterprise is a parastatal organization founded by or established by the government of Eswatini in 1999. It started off as a project sort of organization because there was this joint venture between South Africa and Eswatini where the two countries developed a water up north, developed a dam called Makuga Dam. So there was a portion of water for Eswatini and a portion of water for South Africa. And the government was worried that Eswatini might not be in a position to effectively and efficiently use its portion if it relies on the existing structures. So they chose to establish this organization. It started off as Swaziland Komati Development Project, and then it moved to Eswatini Water and Agriculture Development Enterprise.
All right, so we are definitely aware that you're carrying on an irrigation project, which is going to be of benefit to the people of Eswatini as well as other parts of Africa. So can you give us more details about this project?
All right, as already indicated, we started in the Komati Downstream Development Project, which we delivered quite well. It affected about 14,000 people, and they are all beneficiaries now. The project is complete. It was completed 2 years ago. The success gave birth to a new project called Lower Usutu Smallholder Irrigation project down southern, central part of the country, towards the south though. That project, the first phase, because it's divided into 2 phases, the first phase impacts 20,000 people, and the last phase also impacts 20,000 people. We finished the first phase, and people are already benefiting. If I may go ahead and disaggregate a little bit in terms of the gender involved, our projects to start with are youth projects. You know, I hope everybody is aware that Africa is a youthful continent.
Exactly.
So you find that 90% of the beneficiaries are actually youth. And then if you then go female, male, females lags behind by a little bit. In the project that we are in, we have about 43% women and about 57% male. And of course, in terms of area coverage, the Lower Usutu covers 12,500 hectares, and the Komati covers 6,000 hectares. These 2 projects right now generates slightly above 400 million a year, and are paying around 60 million in taxes. The government borrows money to do these projects, but they don't really pay that money back. They pay that money back through taxes, and if you look at the taxes the farmers are paying, it covers the debt. So it's quite a viable venture that the government of this country took upon itself in 1999.
Exactly. So we're talking about the project which is already, as you stated, has affected and brought about positive results. And so we're talking about investments in these projects. Besides the fact that government is trying to assist these young people, the youth, what other investment or investors are chipping in something for this project to be realized?
To start with, let me talk the Komati Downstream Development Project. In its cost, it cost us around 1.7 billion. The private sector contributed about 1.3 billion. The private sector needed to expand its factory to be able to accommodate the sugarcane stock coming from the smallholder farmers, and so they invested that amount of money for that reason. And we also got grants from the EU, which was used to develop the roads so that these farmers are able to transport their produce quite well. There is also quite a number of small SMEs, let me put it that way, that are coming from the private sector and are benefiting from the project activities. For instance, there are contractors that do the planting of sugarcane. There are fertilizer companies that are supplying fertilizer, electricity, telephone, you name it. And when you go down south, where there is this Lucy project, we already have in the project area basically a factory on moringa. It's a new factory. And then we have a factory on sugarcane, which also expanded to plus minus, they spent plus minus 1.4 billion emalangeni. The project itself, the first phase, cost us 1.6 billion. So you can see it's almost one lilangeni to one lilangeni, kind of private sector government investment in the project.
Exactly. So we are actually mentioning the contributions that small enterprises are bringing to this project, which is of benefit to the people of Eswatini. So what is your enterprise doing to assist these small enterprises that are still growing? What assistance are you giving them?
First and foremost, we mobilize our smallholder farmers. We find them being individual farmers, farming 0.5 of a hectare, farming 2 hectares, 1.5, things like that. Then we help them in the mobilization. We help them to block their land, because usually they farm from one side and they are circled one side. But we then come in and say the best way to benefit from the economies of size, you better block your fields and farm as a block. And usually all of them, they agree to that. Quite a few that actually rejected that idea and even rejected to join the project. And there is nothing wrong. You have a democratic right to say yes or no. So in the block farming, we then help them construct the farm. So the construction of the farm basically comes from government money, which is 70% of the total cost of the construction of the farm. That basically includes the land preparation and the irrigation equipment supply and installation. We do those tenders and make sure that we develop the farm to that level. While the farmers, they go and borrow 30% from the banks, which they use to fence off, buy and then buy inputs and pay labor, things like that. And from there, we then come in with the technical mentorship. The first instance is actually a social mobilization. We make them a social functional group. From there, we come in then with the development. Then from there, the technical mentorship, where we have a technical team that comes in and train them on how to do the crops that they would have selected. And the crops they select, it's actually their choice. We don't select crops for them. They make a decision after thorough training, and they come up with a document which actually state what sort of crops they want to grow and how they are going to grow those crops. So then from there, we have a training team which then trains them on corporate governance, on all these soft skills, and make sure that they start functioning as a company. And in their functioning as a company, the governance structure they are helped to put the governance structure in place. For instance, they are shareholders. Then there are a board of directors, then management, then staff. So that's how it is done. And they are a registered company. That is why they pay tax.
Okay. So we're looking at these developmental projects, and definitely we cannot ignore the fact that there are difficulties in the field. So how do you handle the complaints coming from these small enterprises, and as well projects that you undertake? How do you manage the difficulties that you face?
Yeah, true. There are serious challenges that we come across, and most of them are characterized by standoffs within the same community, across the different communities that we deal with. Our country is led by chiefs, and usually people from one chief and the other chief, they don't want to make business. So we need to find a way of making them come together again. I can make an example of something that actually delayed the project when we started. In all the projects, we've experienced delays on this. You find that when we come in with the project, we design at high level. We assume that people of the same chiefdom will be able to farm together across. And only to find that when you get there to implement, these people say, no, I belong to a section and I have my own leaders in that section which I pay allegiance to. And how can I mix with another section in the same chiefdom? How can I mix with another chiefdom? So we have to go by what the people believe is the best way to solve their problem. We don't solve their problems. We help them solve their problems. And the way we do it, we get them together in a meeting and we make them talk until they come up with a solution which we all then implement. And beyond that, there are chieftaincy disputes. You find that there is overlap. The other chiefs claim land that overlaps to the other chiefs, so there is an intersection. Again, we bring the two chiefs to talk. If they can't agree, we don't develop that intersection. But usually the people then put their leaders under pressure to solve it because they want to benefit from the project. Exactly. Those are just examples. Otherwise, there's numerous problems. Sometimes these guys would go in, or our people would go into the business and would say yes, 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 and you would believe them. Yet they don't know what they are talking about. When they get into the business, then you start realizing what they are looking for. There was, for instance, a piggery business which we had done with one community. The company there was intending to produce piglets and then raise them in their different homes. We were of the opinion that the piglets would be grown here and sold. And then that caused chaos because they started stealing their own piglets.
That sounds like a very interesting domain to handle. And now we're looking at the produce that are being developed or produced by these enterprises, and as well projects that you undertake. It has a lot of produce. So the markets we see in Eswatini with a small population, a lot of people are asking why or with the small markets, how do you expand, or how do you grow your markets to the international community, given that the market can not only end here in Eswatini?
Yes, we are quite aware of that, and our slogan basically is saying we are contributing to the food basket of the world, not just the country. Yes. And in that way we have expanded to exports. In the manner we handle things, when it comes to sugarcane, sugar is already exported. When it comes to the other crops, we build pack houses for these farmers to be able to pack and ship their produce outside the country at the right quality. And they are exporting to Europe, they are exporting to South Africa and many other countries, even Mozambique in the neighborhood.
So we're looking at the health crisis, COVID-19, which has affected most businesses, and we do believe that your sector also suffered great losses because of this crisis. So how do you handle your business or your department in the face of this health crisis?
We are applying very strict precautionary measures within the office and the farmers as well out there. In the office, we strictly adhere to what government has laid down, and we even go beyond. If we see that our staff are at risk, we don't wait for the government to give us an instruction to conduct a lockdown. We quickly lock down and work from home. And we've made sure that all our staff gets tested. Everyone in the organization has been tested. And we are now encouraging everyone to do the vaccination. On the testing side, each time there is an infected employee, he gets tested by our own, under our own instructions, and when he comes back, he again gets cleared under our own instructions. The farmers, we've pushed them in the same direction. In the project areas, we've built health centers. We didn't know COVID was coming. We've built clinics, we've built health centers, and now those health centers and clinics are now utilized to deal with issues of COVID. And we have trained our staff. We've gone out there and trained them on COVID, and we've made sure that they know what to wear, how to wear it, and so on. And we've also went on to provide protective clothing to the health centers and clinics so that they are able to attend to this situation. So far, we have not had very severe effects of COVID in our projects, but we've had significant effects in the office because we went beyond 10% infections at some point, but now we're back to zero.
All right, so we're looking at future developmental projects which your department is going to be undertaking for the betterment of Eswatini and the world at large. So what projects are you looking forward to establishing?
Where we are right now, we are looking at developing a project down south. It's called Mkondo Ngwavuma. It's going to do 30,000 hectares, and it will benefit 100,000 people of various ages and of various gender. And we are also looking at now covering the whole country, because we've been covering only specific projects. Now the government has realized that our model works wonders. They have already approached us to say, can't you cover the whole country using your same model? So we are now looking at, first and foremost, making sure that the country is food secured in maize. I said to my minister, I am prepared to do this in a year's time, but I was being too ambitious. 2 to 3 years will make the difference. So we will be covering the country in terms of food and livestock. We will be doing that, but we are yet to plan that one well. The one that is clearly planned is the one down south, which I am quite excited about because it covers the whole region of the Shiselweni.
We definitely wish you good luck in these projects, and we pray that they are for the benefits of Eswatini and the world at large. Thank you very much, Samson Sithole, for accepting to be with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Please stay tuned to more programs as we join you live from Eswatini.